Welcome! Today, we're diving into a concept that really blurs the line between a machine and a living organism. It's a structure designed not just to sit in the ocean, but to actually work with it. Okay, let's just kick things off with a pretty big question. What if a factory could grow and heal itself? Like a living thing? What if it could build its own skeleton, patch up its own wounds, and even feed itself, all while cleaning up the environment around it? Well, that is the core idea behind something called the aquasynthesis node, or ASN for short. It's basically a design for a self-sustaining ocean platform that mashes up biology, robotics, and some seriously clever engineering into something totally new. So you're probably wondering, how on earth does something like this even get started? Well, it all begins with its foundation, which you can think of as its self-building skeleton. This skeleton is called the bone reef frame, and the key here is that it isn't just built in a factory somewhere, it's grown. It literally mineralizes itself right there in the ocean, and that becomes the structural core for the whole thing. The way it works is actually pretty amazing. First, a basic scaffold is put in the water. Then it gets seeded with special, engineered algae. These tiny little organisms just go to work, pulling minerals straight from the seawater and depositing them as calcium. They're essentially building a bone-like structure all on their own. And here's where that living part really kicks in. Unlike concrete or steel, which weaken over time, this frame actually gets stronger as it gets older. And get this, if it cracks, the algae just naturally swarm to the damage and start depositing more minerals, healing the structure completely on their own. Okay, so if the frame is the skeleton, what about the skin? Well, the ASN has this living, breathing outer layer that does two incredibly important jobs. It cleans the ocean, and it powers the entire system. The cleaning part is this fantastic mix of biology and robotics. On one side, you've got these microbial meshes. Think of them like living filters that literally use microorganisms to eat microplastics and break down things like oil residue. On the other side, you have these autonomous manta drones that just glide through the water, sweeping up bigger pieces of junk. And what you get from all this is this bubble of clean, stable water all around the platform. The designers call it a controlled marine envelope. It's pulling out pollutants, it's stabilizing the local water chemistry, it's just creating a much healthier little spot in the ocean. Now, here is the crucial point. All that plastic and pollution it collects, it's not just garbage that has to be thrown away. Nope. The ASN uses it as a resource, turning it into fuel and raw building materials for itself. We'll get back to that in a second. So how does it power all this activity? That very same outer skin is an energy harvesting beast. It's got these special layers that turn the simple motion of the waves into electricity. And other layers are basically flexible solar panels. All of that power gets stored in super efficient graphene capacitors, making the whole thing completely energy independent. All right, so you've got a clean, stable, and totally self-powered environment. What's the ASN's main job? Well, it's designed to be one of the most advanced and sustainable ocean farms on the planet. The fish aren't just swimming around in big open pens. They're raised in these modular habitat pods. You can think of each pod as its own little mini ecosystem, perfectly controlled and tailored for whatever species is living inside. And these pods are smart. They're constantly watching and tweaking everything. The water flow, the temperature, the oxygen, the nutrients. And if the sensors pick up even a tiny hint of disease, the system can instantly seal off that pod to stop an outbreak. That's a huge problem in traditional fish farming that this just solves. And to really top it all off, this system is truly self-sufficient. It actually grows its own fish feed from algae and kelp farms that are built right in. This is a massive deal because feed is usually the single biggest cost for any fish farm. Okay, so we've got the skeleton, we have the skin, and we have its main job. But what's the thing that's running all these incredibly complex systems, both the biological ones and the mechanical ones? We need to talk about the brain. This quote from the source material just says it perfectly. There's an AI called the Mariana Overmind that acts like a central nervous system. It manages every single process, so the entire platform works like one single living creature. And the list of things it's responsible for is just immense. It's running the day-to-day stuff, managing power, checking on the fish, telling the drones where to go. But it's also thinking long-term, telling the frame where it needs to get stronger, predicting storms to protect itself, and even planning for its own future expansion. It's not just running the show, it's making sure it survives. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture here. We have this incredible living machine, but what really makes its whole model so revolutionary, both for business and for the environment? This right here. This is the key. The whole system is built on a really simple but totally world-changing idea. It turns a liability, ocean pollution, into a valuable asset. Here's how it works. The filtration system collects plastic waste. That plastic gets fed into a little reactor that breaks it down into high-value graphene flakes. And that graphene is then used to make the energy-harvesting skin even stronger and build more power storage. It literally eats trash to make itself better. So this creates this incredibly powerful business model with three main income streams. First, of course, you sell the premium, sustainably raised fish. Second, you can earn environmental credits for cleaning the ocean. And third, you can sell the extra high-grade materials that it creates from the waste. It's a win-win-win. When you really think about it, the aquasynthesis node isn't just a better fish farm or some clever recycling plant. It's a prototype for an entirely new kind of infrastructure, one that doesn't just take from the environment, but one that actively makes it better. It regenerates it. This whole concept, at its heart, is about merging technology with natural, living processes to create something more resilient and sustainable than either one could ever be on its own. And that leaves us with a final thought. What other massive global challenges could we tackle if we started designing our technology to truly live and work with our planet?